Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another review of What We Do in the Shadows. This is episode 3, Werewolf Feud. So, this is kind of doesn't follow the last couple episodes. It doesn't talk about Baron Nafas, or whatever his name is, I can't remember, or any of that trying to take over anything. It's kind of like a separate episode. So, in the beginning, Laszlo is doing his topiary sculpture. It's something he does. It's basically the art of bush manipulation. So basically trimming hedges to make them into shapes. That's the weirdest thing to see a vampire liking to do something like that. And they show him floating around doing it. And one of his favorite ones is a rabbit because it looks exactly the way he pictured it. He's really proud of it. And as he's doing it, his neighbor comes across, Sean, and it's obvious that the guy is a jerk, and so he waves him off, doing his little manipulation of human thing, and then he goes to a little area where it shows his more adult sculptures, and they basically shows bush sculptures of Nadia, Nancy Reagan for some reason, I'm not too sure, and his mom. That's different, and he thinks they're fantastic. And while he's there, on his mother's, sounds horrible. On his mother's, on the bush. I'm just gonna say that sounds horrible. There is werewolf piss, and he decides he's gonna take some action, and he goes back and gets his werewolf trap. It's actually a werewolf trap. So, and then and that's gonna be a theme of the episode. The other theme, it's one of the two themes. The other theme is Colin. Yes, Colin Robinson, who is quickly becoming one of my favorites. They show him in the morning shaving, and he's all proud. He's how he loves the morning. And if you look in the mirror, he looks weird. It's like he's bluish with like veins. It's really crazy. You know how you can't see a vampire in the mirror? Well, you can see him in the mirror. It's weird. So he goes off, and he goes to see what Nandor's doing, and he's, disturbing him sleeping because they sleep during the day, and he's tapping on his coffin and everything, and Nandor's not happy. He's telling Guillermo, and I'm never gonna say his name right. I'm gonna keep doing that ever, and tell him get him away. He's trying to sleep, and Colin's basically saying that was his morning coffee. So that's kind of funny. So he heads off to his office, and he's always happy in the mornings because that's before the day grinds these people up. He gets them fresh. And he notices that there is a new person in the office, and he's happy about that because they're fresh also, but in a way that the people who already work there aren't, because the job hasn't grinded them up yet. They're just full of energy for him. So he goes to meet her, and her name is Evie Russell. And he notices there is something odd about her. He's not getting anything from her, and it's freaking him out a little bit. So he's got to figure out what the heck's going on there. Meanwhile, we go back and we see Nadia showing their crypt, Laszlo and her crypt, and all the different animals that they have in their crypt. She decorated herself. And as she's there showing off the different animals, which you have to watch, it's really funny, she hears a howl. So they head outside, and there is a werewolf trapped in Laszlo's werewolf trap. And they have to bring him inside because they don't want the neighbors to hear. They don't want people to realize, oh, there's vampires and werewolves around. So they bring him inside, and they have to figure out what to do with him. Of course, Laszlo wants to kill him, but he can't because there is a truce apparently between the vampires and the werewolves. So they have to abide by that. So the werewolf wakes up. And he's obviously not happy. He's in a lot of pain. I'm going to heal. And he's not healing very quickly, but he thinks he is. And basically saying he's going to get his pack and everything. So he jumps out the window. And off he goes to get his pack. And he hurts his other leg as he's going out there. So now they got to figure out what to do before these werewolves come back and do whatever they're going to do. We go back to the office where Colin is trying to feed, but he's getting nothing from anybody because they've all talked to Evie, and basically she's like drained them dry. And that's when Colin realizes her name, Evie. actually, what he finds out is that she is an emotional vampire. I would have told you what it was, and it would have made no sense. And what they do is they, instead of annoying someone, they feed off of pity of the person. They tell them a sad story. My grandmother died, and I'm all by myself. My dog died, and I had my dog, and on and on and on. And they feed off of that. And so Evie, emotional vampire, we call him, figured out. And Biff is coming. One of the coworkers, Biff, is coming down the hall, basically. And they're both trying to get his attention to feed off of him. And they're chasing him down the hall. And he has to go to the bathroom. And he goes to the men's bathroom. And Evie ends up going in there too. And Colin actually goes underneath the stall. I mean, they are desperate to try to get this guy. They're feuding for him. And he ends up going into a coma. Because I'm guessing because they were both after him. And it was too much for him. So there is a feud going on in this office now with Colin and Evie, and it's gonna escalate. There's no doubt. So they head out. So back at home, they head outside after what's her name? She heard. They hear I guess vampire. Werewolves. They hear werewolves, and her and Laszlo go outside, and there's werewolves pissing in their yard, all over the place. And so basically it's on. Them and the werewolves, they're decide we're gonna fight. And what happens is Nandor comes out and stops it because there is a truce and they cannot do it. They have to go by the rules. So they head inside and Nandor looks up on the script, which dates back all the way to 1993. They seem to be impressed by that for some reason. I don't know why. And they find out that basically what they have to do, instead of them fighting and killing just all the werewolves and all the vampires killing each other, they pick a champion from each side. And they go and they have to do battle. That battle to the death. So they all agreed to it, and they choose their champions, and they chose a time. So, meanwhile, back at the office, the showdown starts between Evie Russell and our boy Colin. And it's almost like drawing guns in the Wild West. They're separate, and they start saying their sad stories and his annoying stories and her sad stories, and they start floating, and they start just back and forth, and just trying to see who's better and who's gonna win. And they both end up exhausted, and they decide to work together, and they and to see, maybe it'll work out better with both of them working together. Maybe they can get more. So we head back to where they're going to do battle, where the vampires and werewolves do battle, on an abandoned Circuit City, which is really funny if you think about it. There's no more Circuit Cities. They're all gone. And so they each choose their champion. And, of course, it's going to be Nandor. And they have a guy who's huge. He is a huge dude, and he turns into a huge vampire. God darn it. He's a big boy. I mean, he's a huge werewolf. And they get themselves ready to go. The battle. And all the while, Colin and Evie are at a restaurant. Basically, they're feeding off of the waiter. I mean, they're there to eat, but they're doing just fine with the waiter. He's feeding them just fine. There's no food, but they're eating. And it's kind of funny, actually. So back on the rooftops, there they are, all getting ready to go at it, and that guy's a huge werewolf. He is a big boy. So they have to choose their weapons. So the werewolf is going to basically use his claws and teeth, and Nandor ends up picking a chew toy, a bone chew toy, a squeaky bone chew toy, and he throws it over the ledge of the building, and the big old giant werewolf, Toby, I think his name was. Or Toby. It's Toby. And he ends up chasing he throws it over the edge, and he goes over the edge. He jumps over the edge after the toy and splats on the ground. And so they guess they won. It's the weirdest fight I have ever seen. I don't think I've ever seen a fight like that. That was one of a kind. And basically, they bat out, they take off because they won. They won that round. And when Guillermo's leaving, they ask him if they can keep the bone, the toy. And he's like, yeah, go ahead. So they're all excited about that. So Colin now is dating Evie, and they're just wreaking havoc throughout the office. But Colin is not feeling it anymore, because now Evie's basically even saying, taking advantage of the whole situation, and even, making Colin look bad, saying how she has to stay in the office and sleep because Colin won't let her, sleep with him at his place. So he decides to break up with her, and it's for the best. They break up, and she keeps trying to make him feel bad even when he's leaving. It's pretty funny. He keeps falling for it, and so they've broken up. So that's another thing that's going to be interesting to see if they continue on showing her. And then at the end, they of course show Laszlo in his little getup, his topiary getup, and showing his mom's the sculpture. I'm going to say sculpture at the end. And so that's how it basically ends. And him standing in the garden, with his mom's sculpture. And so what did I think of the episode? Again, another time, I watched it twice, and I liked it the second time even more. And I know I've skimmed through it again. I really enjoy it. Colin really is becoming my favorite character. I love the others. Nandor's great. Guillermo's great. They all are, but Colin, he's just so funny. He reminds me of Bob Newhart. Very just dry humor the way he is, and it's just great. And his whole energy vampire thing is so different, and I think that's what I like about it. And I'm really, really hoping they continue on with Colin and Evie and that thing. And something I noticed that they didn't do in this episode, they didn't show the girl that Nausea was going, Jenna, that she was going to turn. They didn't show her. And I'm wondering what's going on with her. I know she's going to show up later on. I know she is. So that's another thing I'm really looking forward to seeing. And so now we also have the werewolves involved now. So what's going to happen with them? Are they going to make more of appearances? They introduced the neighbor, so obviously the neighbor, and they even gave the neighbor. They showed the neighbor the name, and I think his name is Sean, I believe, and they went on to show him a few times. So is he going to be a part of the show? So I really love this show. I'm having so much fun watching it. I really am, and I'm hoping that they continue. I hope it gets renewed, and I'm looking forward for many, many more episodes. And more Colin stuff. Oh, he is so good. He is so good. You all really should. If you're not watching it, watch it. You'll really, really like it. I'm trying to get everyone I know to watch it. So thanks, guys, for listening and watching, and I do appreciate it. And tell me what you think of it. Are you enjoying the show? I definitely am. And I hope you all come back to see more of my reviews of What We Do in the Shadows. I'll see you all again. Bye-bye.